Does this spot look familiar to anyone? Anyone? You remember this? This is where I shot my very first video. I'd been on the road about 7 months and decided to shoot my first introductory video introducing you to me and Matilda and Capone. Well, it's great to be here because this is one of my favorite spots on the planet. It's bittersweet. I miss my co-pilot. But since I launched my YouTube career in this very spot, I thought it would be the perfect place to talk about the 5 biggest mistakes that newbie RVers make. What do you think some of those mistakes are? Can you name off 5? Let's see if you have the same ideas that I do. Some of these mistakes I have made myself, and others I have seen other newbie full-timers make. And so I'm going to talk about those 5 big mistakes that newbies make. And I think the last one is going to surprise you, so stay tuned till the end for that.
Ain't nobody gonna do it for you. Got to find your own.
Hey friendlies, I'm Carolyn and welcome back to my RV life. So did you come up with 5 mistakes that you think newbie RVers might make? Well, let's see if they match the ones I have come up with. And again, I think there's going to be a few on this list that are going to surprise you. So stay tuned to the end for I think is going to be the biggest surprise. The number 1 mistake I see a lot of newbie RVers making is that they start out without an emergency fund. And I've said in other videos before, I think in my budget videos, that I recommend about $5,000, and I think the general feeling is that you should have between $3,000 and $5,000. Well, I'm going to tell you, in my first year on the road living in my big junk piece of lemon Matilda, I blew through $5,000 like that. So, you know, it really depends on how reliable your RV is. And like many of us, if you're buying used, I think $5,000 is not unreasonable. So I think that's the number 1 mistake I see most newbie RVers making, is not having an emergency fund. And number 2 kind of goes with number 1. Number 2 is I see a lot of newbies not getting their RV inspected. I didn't, and I suffered a lot because of that bad decision. And my second RV I bought at a dealer, and so I didn't feel it was necessary to get it inspected, especially because I was walking around with a video camera and I think, I don't know, 50, 60, 70,000 YouTube subscribers. I think that kind of helps my case a little bit. That's a lot of bad publicity. But in most of the time, I think it is a really smart idea to get your RV inspected by a non-biased third party. Take it to another mechanic, and especially if you can, somebody who knows RVs, so they can not only check under the hood but also the coach systems as well. There is just so much that can go wrong in an RV. You've got a house and a vehicle. You've got so you've got the vehicle chassis and a house, and there's just a million things that can go wrong. And it really is a good idea to get it checked out. Most cities and states have like mobile RV inspection companies. Just go ahead and do a Google search for whatever city you're in, and it's a really good idea to get your RV inspected ahead of time. I highly recommend that. That's a huge mistake newbies make. Mistake that I see a lot of newbie RVers making is that they try to do everything all at once. What I mean by that is, before they even hit the road and live in their RV for a single day, they're trying to figure out, they're installing like 3,000 watts of solar and the biggest inverter they can find, and getting, 10 12-volt coach batteries. And I think that's a mistake. I mean, some people might disagree with me. Some people maybe know their systems better than I'm giving them credit for. But in my experience, most people go way overboard before they know what they really need. What I did is I lived in my RV and I added things as I needed them. I started out with like a 100-watt foldable solar panel that I hooked up directly to my battery. And it wasn't until I really needed it, I really, really needed it, that I got 350 watts of solar installed on my roof. And just the other day, I had somebody write to me and say, I'm going to watch 3 hours of TV a day. Do I need 1,000 watts of solar? Boy, in my opinion, that's huge. That's overkill. I have 350 watts, including my external, including my flexible solar panel that I have a plug and play outside my rig. And right now, in the long days, I've not even had to pull that out. I'm living on 250 watts of solar and 2 6-volt batteries. And I'm running a high-powered laptop 10-12 hours a day, and but that's about all I run. My heater, I'm running my heater a little bit because it's been cold at night, but that's been plenty of power for me. So that's the biggest mistake I see newbies make. They go out and they, like, you know, buy all the fancy RV gear. You know, they go to Camping World and they stock up on all the stuff. I know I did. I bought stuff. But my suggestion really is to just, I know it's like when you I think it's nesting, right? You're moving into something new and you just want to buy all this cool stuff and you want to make it home. And that's one thing, you know, making it comfortable and making it home. But I strongly suggest living in it and adding as you have the need for it, rather than trying to figure out before you even start what you need. So that's the number 3 mistake I see newbies making, is really just trying to do everything all at once instead of learning as you go. Okay, and the 4th mistake I see most newbie full-time RVers making is that they travel too much the first year. Yeah, I know, that sounds a little weird, but I've seen a lot of burnout lately. A lot of people who just kind of been on the road a year and they've seen everything, been everywhere, done everything, and they're already burnt out and want to go back to sticks and bricks because they're exhausted. And my advice is that, you know, this isn't a destination, this is a journey. I think life is a destination, right? Yeah, life is a journey rather than a destination. And I think it's really hard, though. It's not your fault if that's what you're thinking, because we're used to having 2, 3, 4 weeks of vacation a year, right? So we got to cram everything into that 2 weeks before we go back to work. And it does take a long time. It took me probably a year, maybe a year and a half to really kind of like change that gotta rush, gotta go, you know, gotta get there mentality, and really just enjoy the journey. I drive slower now, I stop more often now, and, you know, I don't have to cram everything in. Yeah, I have done a lot of traveling over the last 3 years, so maybe I'm talking to myself more than anyone, but I don't think I'm burnt out. I mean, I spent 3 or 4 months over the winter not doing a lot of traveling, but I think also part of that was the grief. But my plan already was for this year not to do as much traveling, at least that was the plan, to not do as much traveling and kind of, you know, stay put more. So a lot of newbies, though, think that they need to go do everything and see everything. And so the first year they do 50, 60,000 miles. They've been across the country twice and back, and then they're burnt out and they don't know why. And they're like, why isn't this working for me? So I would suggest just trying to remind yourself that you're out here forever if you want to be. You don't have to do everything all at once. Linger, enjoy the moment, enjoy. If you find a spot you love, like this one, stay as long as you can. Most places you can stay in national forests and BLM lands, you can stay for 2 weeks. If you don't have anywhere to be, and if you're not bored, stay 2 weeks. Or even if you are bored, it's okay to be a little bored sometimes. And maybe just kind of unwind and breathe, right? And just kind of embrace the boredom. So that's the 4th mistake I see a lot of newbies make. Number 5, and this is kind of a pre-full-time RVer mistake, is you spend too much time worrying, planning, researching, so much that you never actually put the rubber to the road and you never go. And I see so much of that in my channel. I see so much fear and so much anxiety. And again, I don't think it's our fault. I think society kind of breeds that with all the go, 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 and all the chatter and all the fear. And you should be afraid of this, and you should be afraid to be alone, and you should be afraid to be in the wilderness, and you should be afraid to go for a walk without a gun or bear spray. Or, I mean, there's just a million things in our society that are telling us to stay put, right? When you start to absorb those messages to a point that they're not making you happy and you want to be doing other things, but you're paralyzed by your own overthinking, planning, or fear, then it's time to maybe revisit that. Maybe talk to somebody, talk to a professional. Actually, I'll put a link to BetterHelp down there. If you want to talk to a professional, I mean, my therapist has done wonders for me. And it's a good idea sometimes to talk these things through with someone who isn't invested in your choices and isn't invested in your life. And so if you want to talk to somebody to kind of help overcome your anxieties and your fear and your tendency to overthink, it might be a really good idea. I mean, if you really think that you are meant to live this life, but you kind of can't seem to get out of your own way to, like I said, put the rubber to the road and do it, then it might be time to talk to somebody. I see so many people kind of stuck in cycles and behaviors that aren't making them happy, and they just don't know how to get out. So that would be the 5th mistake I see newbies make. They worry too much, they overthink everything, and so they're never able to act on their dreams and their wishes. And actually, I have a bonus. As I was just talking, so the 6th mistake that newbie RVers make, and this one is probably going to really surprise you. I think this is going to be a huge surprise to many because it kind of is opposite of what I was just talking about. But the 6th huge mistake, and I can't believe I keep seeing so many people do this, is they jump into it without thinking and without planning and without worrying. I mean, a little bit of worrying and of course planning is normal. I mean, there's a certain amount of that, of course, that's normal. My point in number 5 was if it paralyzes you to the point that you can't, of inactivity and you can't move forward, then it becomes a problem. But there's a certain amount of worry, there's a certain amount of even anxiety. This is a huge choice. It is a huge decision. It might be one of the biggest decisions you ever make in your life, to completely sell everything, get rid of your house, leave your family, leave your friends, leave your town, leave your city, buy a mobile home on wheels, and just live nomadically on public lands. I mean, when I say it like that, it kind of sounds crazy, right? So while you don't want to overthink everything to death and to the point where you don't do the things you love, you also don't want to just completely throw yourself into this with no thought or planning whatsoever. And I've seen a lot of people do that, just act on impulse. And I am speaking from experience. I tend to be I've actually gotten much better at that. I don't overthink things, and I tend to be pretty impulsive. So I relate to this one, and maybe that's why I kind of saved it to the end, and maybe why I'm so passionate about it. I had to force myself, when I decided that I wanted to live in an RV, I had to force myself to not sell everything and move into an RV the next month. I think it was like a total of 5 months, 4 or 5 months, which is not a lot. Some of you have been planning for years. It was like 4 months for me, but hey, that's progress for me. But I literally see people like do it in less than that. And everybody has to move at their own pace, and everybody has to judge what's best for them and what path is right for them. But while overthinking and worrying too much is not productive to living your dreams, rushing into this is also not productive. You're going to crash and burn. Maybe not. You know, maybe you're really good at handling adversity. You don't panic. You don't stress out a lot over things. And no matter what life throws at you, I mean, no matter what, there is just a lot that can go wrong out here. And when you're by yourself and you're on the road, it can be exponentially more stressful than anything that you might experience in the comfort of a sticks and bricks, surrounded by the comfort and safety of that home, of a community, of a city that you're used to. There's a lot of unknowns out here. Every day can be an unknown out here. So to just impulsively throw yourself into this, it can be a huge mistake for a lot of people. So all right, those are the 6, I added a bonus. The 6 biggest mistakes most newbie RVers, van dwellers, van lifers, schoolie dwellers, whatever you are, those are the 6 biggest mistakes I see most newbies making. Number 1, no emergency fund. Number 2, they don't get their rig inspected. Number 3, they try to do everything all at once instead of learning as they go the needs of their rig and their lifestyle. Number 4, traveling too much and getting burnt out way too soon. Number 5, worrying and overthinking everything too much to the point where you're just stuck in life. And number 6, the opposite of that, not worrying and not planning and not thinking enough and doing this on an impulse. Huge mistake. All right, so what did you think? Any surprises there, or was there anything that you expected? Do those align pretty much with what you thought the biggest mistakes would be of most newbie RVers? All right, I hope that was helpful. Subscribe below and you're going to get a lot more fun adventure, travel, thoughts, all kinds of stuff. And check out Patreon over here if you want access to giveaways, contests, up to 700 more videos that the public has never seen before. I hope you'll consider joining Patreon. I would love to see you there. And until next time, be happy, be free, and be kind. Mwah. I'll see you soon.